This week on the Powell Not Found podcast, we talk about the Yankees injuries piling up, Volpe down, Jazz is down. We also talk about Star Wars Day and Season 1 of Andor, and we finish out the show talking about the new show, The Four Seasons, on Netflix. Coming up on the show, here we go.
I'm gonna tell you a story about a girl who loves gin. A national pandemic seized her birthday celebration. Although she knew it was coming, we tried not to tell her. She brewed some Irish breakfast till she knew her birthday was getting corona.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 63 of the Powell Not Found podcast. I am your host, Mark Powell, for this Sunday. May the 4th be with you. To all the Star Wars fans celebrating, I certainly got the opportunity this week to celebrate my favorite franchise of all time, Star Wars. Seminal to me growing up. So for everyone that celebrates, hopefully you got in whatever trilogy you like, the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, and for all those people who love the prequel trilogy, well, there's help out there for you. So please seek medical advice as soon as possible. I feel like I've heard people say that the new generation is very sympathetic to the prequel trilogies, but I can't understand why. Of all of those films, there is one film, really the last film, episode 3, that really holds up. I mean, the rest is a lot of talking heads. It's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of trade war going on in the beginning. And I can't imagine why, when you look at the original trilogy, I feel like it's defined by action sequence after action sequence. It doesn't slow down. And then the prequels just are so dialogue heavy that it kind of reminds me, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Disney Plus shows. The way that they slow build out of the gate. The first time I watched Mandalorian, one of my first observations about that show was, man, this is taking a while to get to the point. It's really story building. It's world building. It's building a narrative context to why you should care about this subsidiary character off in whatever time he's set in. Right? Why do we care about Admiral Akbar's cousin that now has a Disney Plus show? They are slow roll, but I've been hearing that the new generation is a little bit easier on those films than maybe the generation that really experienced them as kids. My generation, I was 10 years old when the first one came out in 1999. And I remember the hype being off the wall for a new Star Wars film. And at that point, in 1999, you're talking about 16 years since there was a new Star Wars thing, which seems unheard of now with the way, the cadence in which Disney treats their Star Wars properties. It seems unheard of to wait 16 years between anything. It's more like 16 minutes before the new Star Wars TV show comes out. There's already more. When I looked at the amount of properties and the proper timeline last night, I got to be honest, there were many that I didn't even know existed. Some I'm assuming they're animated. Some I assume are not really meant for me, i.e. like Skeleton Crew. We talked about Skeleton Crew on this show. Not a show for me. It's kind of a kid's show, right? Family show, family Star Wars show. The Clone Wars, I've heard great things about the Clone Wars. Just can't get into an animated Star Wars series for some reason. And that's probably a me problem. I know that there's very, very good stories. It fills in the back of the lore, but at some point, you got to draw me in quick. So, you're listening to the Powell Not Found podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us at youtube.com @Powell Not Found. You can also find us at anywhere that you can download podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Are there other places that you download podcasts? I don't know. We're probably out there. We've been syndicated. So go ahead and rate and review the show wherever you listen to it. and help the show grow. We're also on all social media channels, including Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, Blue Sky. Anywhere that you can see Powell Not Found, you will find our handles out there. So go ahead and interact with our posts and help us grow the show. First up on today's show, and we're going to get back to Star Wars because I have a huge, actually, you know what? Let's get into it right now. One of the cool things about May the 4th is that in the 15 years that people have been celebrating May 4th, May the Force be with you. In the 15 years or so that people have been celebrating this pun, there has been more and more fanfare built into it. You can see the commercials start being more Star Wars based, all the syndications and the partnerships, like the Lego partnerships, the commercials all start becoming Star Wars based, right? They're trying to sell merchandise. But one of the cooler things I got to do this weekend was go to a screening of the original Star Wars in Washington at an old theater called the Miracle Theater, which had been built over in 1909. It was an old vaudevillian theater that I think played vaudevillian shows for 15, 20 years or so until it finally kind of went under. And a couple churches took it over, restored it into its former glory, and has been housing movies and shows and reviews and that kind of stuff. It reminds me of if you've ever been to Richmond, where there's the Bird Theater. It's like that, except less ornate. The Bird has a lot of different. That when you walk into the Bird, it looks like an architectural wonder when you walk into that movie theater. This one kind of looks more standard to what it probably was in the past. A little bit red velvety, old seats, and they were playing Star Wars. And the best part about that was not only was it fit within the theme, right, but also the prices were so low. Right, it was $8 to get into a show. Right, great, amazing. To get a popcorn and a soda and a candy, $15. I walked out of there, not breaking the bank like you do at Regal or AMC. Right, it doesn't feel like it's a burden to go see an old film. And one of the things I used to love and enjoy was as a kid going to like a dollar movie or seeing those independent movie theaters that would have a kind of second wind films or second circuit films that had already been in theaters, but if you missed it in theaters, you could see it again. And it was a low admission. You knew you weren't seeing the best of the best. They were taking home all of the money, essentially, because they weren't paying top dollar to show their film. And so you'd get a second chance to see it in theaters. And over the last couple months, especially seeing the Oscars, Conan did a huge funny bit about going to see movies in the theater, a comedy bit from the Oscars. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Conan's in the news again because he was awarded that Mark Twain Prize that's also on Netflix premiering today. But they make a big deal about seeing films in theaters. And I had never gotten the opportunity to see Star Wars in films. It was obviously from 1977. They had re-released the trilogy a couple times. I mean, many times over the years. One of them most notably was when the prequels came out. They re-released the original trilogy, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. They re-released it so people could see it in theaters. I was 10 years old at the time, didn't control the budget of my family at 10. I know, what a travesty. But, ended up seeing Empire in theaters. And that's where really my love of Star Wars kind of came from, was seeing that show with people in a big auditorium. Seeing A New Hope was familiar to me. It felt like it was on theme. It was a fun thing to go to. But one of the striking things seeing that film is you realize, because you've seen that show 1,000 times on television syndicated, when you see it with a whole bunch of people, not only do you get the vibe of a bunch of nerds coming together watching this film again, because people were whooping and hollering and they were clapping when Harrison Ford came on screen, when Luke said his first line about going to Tashi Station to get power converters, people were laughing at it. These cultural memes that have developed from the Star Wars franchise were being kind of played out in the audience. It added an energy to the film. This is a film I have seen hundreds of times. And last night was one of the best times I have seen it. There is nothing more powerful than watching a Star Wars film in a theater, and when the Death Star blows up, you know the Death Star is going to blow up. But hearing everybody applaud and cheer as if we all did something by watching it happen is fun. It reminds you of why the theater is important for it to survive. Why seeing it at home, you're not going to get that visceral reaction that you would sitting in a theater. Chomping on popcorn, eating some M&Ms. You're not going to get the same vibe. You also start realizing how important some of these characters are. Like C-3PO to me was always funny. I liked his nervous energy, but I gravitated towards other characters as a kid and as an adult. I remember having an R2-D2 action figure when I was younger, and that was like one of my favorite action figures. But seeing it in a theater, you start realizing how much of a comic relief C-3PO is. Lines that seem throwaway all of a sudden become very punctuated when you're seeing it amongst the masses. And so for the first time, it really swayed my opinion about the state of movie theaters and why they should exist. Because for years, I grew up going to the movies. That was a very typical thing. It continues to be a very typical thing in my life. Seeing films is very important. It's a way to escape. But as we've started to transition, especially after the pandemic, into an on-demand society, when theaters really seemed like they were on the brink, it really made me think about, why do we need to go spend, nearing $50, $60 to go see something amongst people? Last night was an example of why you need to see things with people. It's the energy, it's the vibe. Not all films are going to have this. I remember seeing Chicago and New York a long, long time ago when I was a kid. It had that same energy and vibe that last night it had. So if you get the opportunity, support independent theaters. They are some of the more unique experiences that you're going to have. I know Alamo was doing this before. Alamo was just purchased by Sony. But as an independent theater, they did a good job about bringing independent and independent films, but also bringing back old films for screenings and seeing it in theaters all the time. If you do have an old theater in your neighborhood, go support it. Go to a show. You may not have that opportunity again, especially with the advent of all these multiplexes like your Regal, like your AMC. Something about a one-house movie theater is just a charming atmosphere that I think we lack right now. So it was a crazy experience. You also forget how short that film is. You blink and you miss a couple different things. It also reminded me too, because I've been watching Andor alongside Andor season 1. Andor season 2 is coming out episodically now on Disney Plus, but it also reminded me of how fast-paced Star Wars as a trilogy was and how different the TV shows are now. Andor is I haven't finished it yet, so I don't want to give like final thoughts on Andor. I want to kind of catch up so that I'm with everybody on season 2. But like other shows and like other Star Wars shows that I've mentioned on the show, Andor takes a while to really rev its engines to get something to happen. And then when something happens, it's very punctuated. And I'm about 7 episodes in when a heist has occurred. And it appears that we have hit a pivot point in Andor that it seems like it's going to turn into a totally different TV show. And I don't know whether that is the point where everyone says it starts getting good, it starts really becoming one of the best shows that I've seen. Because when Andor first came out, I seem to remember people saying that it was very slow. It took a long time to get into. But that seems to be the trend with all these TV shows with a Star Wars pace. It's so different from the films. And maybe that's just because the films only have 2 hours, 2.5 hours, max to really tell you the whole story. They don't have the room to really show you every bit and bob that they want to show you, like a TV series that has 8 hours, 7 or 8 hours to play with. So I'm curious to compare and to finish this and really give proper thoughts on Andor, because they really go deep into character development in a way that I'm not sure is actually interesting. There are character arcs that listen, when I watch Star Wars, I don't ever think that I'm going to see the inner workings of the Imperial Force and middle management at its function. I don't think I'm ever going to feel the emotional pain of someone who's been terminated from the Imperial forces, from middle management at best. You want to see the top players in Star Wars. You want to see the Emperor. You want to see Luke, right? You want to see Han, right? You want to see the people that are really making an impact. Andor is not that. Andor, I feel like you really see the players on the ground, and you really go deep into the players on the ground, and you're so far away from the heart of the rebellion that you start to wonder, was this a good idea? And so right now, I'm very, very torn on how much I like getting this deep into the Star Wars lore. At this point, people say it's great, but it takes a while to keep on going. And when you have this choice in your head about when you're sitting down and you're going to watch something, do you want it just to, get to the point right away? Or do you want it to kind of really, really show you the inner workings? Like, at what point is it fan service versus interesting? Because a mega fan's going to want to know every bit and bob of that world. They're going to want to see every little detail developed. But I think by doing that, you sacrifice a little bit of interest, because you don't need to show all those moments to tell a narrative story. But right now, 7 episodes of 12 deep. I feel like you should be able to pass judgment on a television show 7 episodes in, but so much of this stuff has been context and world building for the story that I don't think it's appropriate right now to pass judgment on season 1 just yet. But if you're going to watch Andor, just know, of all the shows on Disney Plus, this is probably the slowest one to start, compared to Book of Boba Fett, compared to Mandalorian, and the like. So, with that, let's transition hard. I do want to say that comparatively, next to the show that we're going to talk about at the end of the show, the 4 seasons, drastically different from Andor. It hits you right away and doesn't stop pulling punches, and I appreciate it for it. It seems short, sweet, well-conceived, and it leaves me with a totally different feeling. I also like to say, too, that I still like Andor, right? It's interesting. It's a fun story when things start happening, it's a fun story to follow. And they do a great job production-wise of putting you in that world and making you realize that you're seeing these like lower strata of Imperial forces that are not as good as the top level, the top ranked people that we're used to seeing all the time, right? We're not seeing this well-oiled machine. We're seeing the ignored strata of management that the Imperials have not looked at for years, and nor do they probably care, right? They make that very clear, and they do a great job acting it. I think Diego Luna in it, he is playing his same Cassian from Rogue One. We know where this story is going. It's very like Better Call Saul in that way, where we know it's a fated story. The acting is great in it, as always. It's not, they don't pull any punches. The guy from The Bear is in it. It's well acted. And I think this might be a case of great acting taking a bad script and making it tolerable. But it just takes a little bit too long to develop. When things start happening, it is a great piece of Star Wars production. It's a great Star Wars production. When things are happening and developing and the story is moving forward. When the story is not moving forward, it moves very slow. It is like Whiplash in that way, where it's going 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour down a highway, and then coming to a complete stop and causing a pileup. Like that is the pacing of Andor so far. So hopefully, I seem to be at a pivot point where everything seems to change. It does appear, it feels like for the viewer that it's almost like the production team took a hard stop and said, we have to change the pacing of the show. And so let's wrap this up, this first part, and now get into the second part of the show. It feels like it's almost like it should have been one season and 2 seasons split at seven episodes, because they feel like they're going to be very thematically different. So, but that is your Star Wars section of the day. May the 4th be with you. Let's talk a little bit about the Yankees when we come back. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Powell Not Found podcast. Again, you can find us at YouTube at Powell Not Found, and you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcast and Spotify and all the other places that you can find podcasts, rate and review the show. This has been a tough week if you're a Yankees fan. Good Lord. Yankees dropped 2 out of 3 to the Orioles. Playing some sloppy defense and some sloppy baseball behind them. They get out of there with 1 win. I was able to go to the last game of the series and sit in some pretty good seats. I went ahead and bought them, went up to Camden Yards. Took only a swift 2.5 hours to get from where I was to Baltimore during rush hour. So, good Lord, a 6:35 start time is not exactly something that is ideal for anybody trying to get to Camden Yards. So, all that stuff about Baltimore suing the Nationals about being in their market, let me tell you, in rush hour, the Nats are not in the market. It takes a long, long time now to get up to Baltimore. But by the time I did, sitting behind home plate, it was very, about 17, 18 rows up. It was very lucky to get the seats that I did. Very comfortable experience. About 50-50 split in Baltimore when it comes to Yankees and O's fans. The Yankees end up dropping that game. I believe it was 5-3. They had the tying run up to the plate, and they left Judge on deck. A lot of things in that game that I could come out and talk about. There was almost a brawl between Pablo Reyes and one of the Orioles, and Aaron Judge hitting his 10th home run of the season. When you're in person to see a Judge home run, you realize just how pulverized that baseball is. Not only is Judge taller than you think he is, but when you compare him against Volpe, one of the times they were walking out into the field together, it just looked like they were in 2 different leagues. It looked like they were. It was unbelievable, the height difference, and it made you think that you could really be any kind of size, shape to play baseball. Man, there's no defining factor when it comes to playing baseball when you see the 2 of them next to each other. But the Yankees played some sloppy defense, and that kind of came back to haunt them. Also, Jazz Chisolm in the next series injures himself, out for a about 4 to 6 weeks as he suffers a right oblique strain, or what the Yankees are calling a flank injury. He basically hurts himself on the swing. I was listening to this on the radio. This was not in the Rays game. It was on the Orioles game, because I was listening to the broadcast, because it's blocked out here in the Washington area. And they put him on the 10-day injured list with a right oblique strain. The move was retroactive to Wednesday. He suffered the injury on a swing versus the Baltimore Orioles in Camden Yards on Tuesday. Also note that he continued the at-bat and lugged out a double/triple, whatever they ruled it to be, and then he got up and had to be taken out of the game. He probably injured it further than he had. He seemed to be very surprised that he was not in the lineup. He said he was fine, but obviously the x-rays came back and it showed that he had a right oblique strain. And when you have an oblique strain, you feel it. It is a muscle that no one really cares about until they pull it and they realize how much they use it. So obviously, defensively, this is an issue. Losing your second baseman, it gives opportunities to Peraza. It gives opportunities to Cabrera. It gives opportunities to Vivas, who is now up with the team, to fill in that hole that Jazz Chisolm left. Offensively, Jazz was not doing that hot. I mean, Jazz was hitting around the Mendoza line. He hit 7 home runs. This is according to an Athletic article. Hit 7 home runs, hitting a .181 with a .304 on base percentage and a .714 OPS, which is below his career average of .755. I mean, Jazz was struggling. Jazz was really pushing it. Jazz, outside of like the power numbers that have come out, he's struggled since he's been a Yankee. He really hasn't like gone on a tear, on a consistent enough tear to really show Yankees fans that he can really take the spot and run with it. So you got to wonder if they look at this injury and say, well, we don't want to push it any further, but we want to get opportunities to our other players on the bench. Let's just be safe and let's handle them. Now, this was before what happened on Saturday, which Anthony Volpe goes diving for a ball and hurts his shoulder and creates this kind of scary moment, because already the Yankees defense is shaky. Even that battery up the middle of Jazz and Volpe, there were times where, listen, it's an improvement from what we had in Gleyber Torres last year, but the amount of plays that were botched, bobbled, and stuff like that, it was becoming a problem with them, uninjured. And then you see them, Jazz, go down for at least 4 to 6 weeks, probably a month. You probably won't see them until mid-June, by the time the rehab is done. And then you see this happen on Saturday, a sloppy game by the Yankees, a sloppy 8th inning that cost them the game. Mark Leiter Jr. Pitching on the mound, and this happens. Not exactly ideal for the Yankees. Let's take a listen here.
Lau and Caminero. Grounded and knocked down by Volpe, but he can't get a hold of it. It'll be a base hit for Morel. Looks like Volpe is hurt.
He's grabbing his shoulder. He's grabbing his left shoulder, and he is staying down.
Crowd holding its breath right now. Looks like he will stay in. Boy, from that moment right there, Jeff, to Anthony still being in the game, that is certainly best case scenario.
So you have Volpe injuring his shoulder. He stays in the game, ends up costing the Yankees, bobbling a ball up the middle that gives the Rays the lead, and they end up winning that game 3-2. And then you have some questions, I guess, as a Yankee manager about what to do. Your middle battery, although they haven't given any kind of official update on the status of Volpe, your up the middle battery here is hurt and injured. And Volpe giving some very, very worrying quotes after the game about the state of his shoulder. Let's take a listen to these quotes coming from Volpe after the game, after he stays in there to resume after the pop in his shoulder. Let's take a listen.
Anthony, what exactly did you feel on that play where you went down in the eighth?
Having quick, so I just felt like a pop in my shoulder, which was like just it happened quick and it was scary, but after that I felt okay and I felt like I had my strength, so they tested me and I felt good.
Aaron had mentioned maybe you'll get x-rays or additional testing. Have you done any of that yet? Do you plan on doing any more of that?
Yeah, I got an x-ray. It was all fine. And then I wanted to see how it feels, sleep on it tomorrow, and then reevaluate.
Not what you want to hear your shortstop say, right? You don't want to hear him say that he heard a pop, because immediately your medical staff is going to be like, well, that pop came from somewhere. Obviously, shoulders can go in and out of its socket. Still, you're going to have inflammation. You're going to have soreness. It's going to be an issue, right? You wonder after these plays, too, whether Volpe is going to be a little bit less hesitant to go after balls. I mean, we've seen in the past Judge, this is way before, in like 2018, 2019, Judge diving for balls in right field, and even he himself kind of said that he was going to ease up on those kind of plays because they lead to injuries sometimes. That's why you see less diving in baseball, right? Like it leads to injuries like this. You know, if one false move there, and Volpe could have been out for a whole season. And Volpe definitely, while not the most consistent player offensively, still offers a level of consistent at-bats that you do not see anywhere else in the Yankees lineup. I mean, right now, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone outside of Grisham, Judge, and Goldschmidt in that lineup consistently giving competitive at-bats. I mean, you go down the box scores today, and it does not look pretty. It looks pretty sometimes when you look at from an OPS perspective, but it does not look great when it comes to overall numbers offensively for the Yankees. I mean, Judge is going to slow down at some point this season. He's not going to continue at this clip all year. So somebody else will have to step up offensively for the Yankees. Right now, they finished today. Grisham is hitting at 296. Judge is hitting at 423. Bellinger is hitting 200 exactly. Goldschmidt, 349. The rest of the lineup, Dominguez, 227. Escara, 172. Reyes, 158. Cabrera, 261. Ben Rice, 255. I mean, these are numbers of an offensive team that's really going to get the job done. I know our offense is low, but good Lord. And again, this wasn't the starting lineup necessarily. Austin Wells was out of the lineup today. But boy, oh boy. I mean, Wells is hitting at 208. So you really don't want to see Volpe go down for an extended period of time unless you have someone really dire to replace him. And right now, defensively, the whole, outside of center field, the whole left side of the infield is kind of a mixed bag of events. You have Cabrera at third, overthrowing first base on a regular clip. Peraza, bobbling balls here and there. You've got Pablo Reyes, kind of not really a second baseman, right? He's a third baseman, right? That they kind of marketed him as. Dominguez, every ball hit to left field is not Joey Gallo level of worry. I mean, Joey Gallo has played a pretty solid defensive left field, so that's probably not fair to him. Let's go back to like Aaron Hicks, who also played somewhat decently, but it's just we didn't have a left fielder for a long time. It was a revolving door of people. Miguel Andujar was playing left field, and God knows if the ball was going to be caught. Jason Dominguez, his routes, you're starting to see, even though he's making consistent catches sometimes in the games, they're not beautiful looking. They're not smooth at all. You can definitely see it compared to like Grisham in center field compared to Judge. Bellinger plays a smooth outfield. Dominguez, it's even today, there was a ball off the wall, probably should have been caught. A better route catches that ball. So right now, with the mix of the lack of defense that the Yankees were so sure of right now, with Chisolm at second, with Volpe at short, you have LeMahieu coming back at third. Maybe that's an answer there defensively. It's an older answer, but it's an answer. Right now, with their mix of lack of offense and their tough defense, Yankees they've lost 4 out of 6, and you know what? They're probably lucky they didn't lose all 6. The way that they're playing, it's not a very competitive game. Also, you have pitchers just not going the distance. I mean, Will Warren, 4.2 today, 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned, not helped by a defense behind him. Before that, I mean, Fried really is the stopper right now. He's 6-0 in 7 starts, really giving quality start after quality start. Yesterday, the Yarborough goes 4 innings. Hamilton goes for 1. Fernando Cruz goes for 2. Leiter is 0.1, gives up 2 runs. Tim Hill, 1.2. I mean, the bullpen is being spent so much early in the game because of the lack of ability for the starters to go deep into games. I mean, I know he went into the 5th inning today, Will Warren. He threw a career-high 102 pitches. He had 8 strikeouts. That's great. He had personal accomplishments that were great, but we can't have a starter go 4.2. If that's the case, you might as well just throw it in and do a bullpen game. And at least let your bullpen know that you're going to be expended. I mean, your bullpen's going to be absolutely spent. Come June, there's going to have to be acquisitions to get more people to just fill in the cracks there for some of these people who are going to be gassed by June if this is the tendency of your starters. Because right now, the only one going deep into games, Rodon and Fried. And this is not a championship equation to get yourself in October right now. So the Yankees fall today. They fall to 19-14 at May 3rd. And even though it's useless right now to look at the standings and make any kind of prediction, because anything can happen. I mean, if the Nationals can win the World Series in 2019, being under 500, anything can happen. If the Mets can make it this deep and to make it to the LCS after the atrocious start that they had, nothing truly really matters in May. But you got to bank those wins. They are first in the AL East, but when you look at who they're facing next, it doesn't really bode well. I mean, they're facing a very good San Diego. Excuse me, I had to mute there. They're facing a very good San Diego team. San Diego comes in on the day at 22-11, 3.5 back a game back of the 23-10 Dodgers. I mean, the NL West just looks absolutely beautiful. The Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants all with 22 wins or more on the season. The Yankees are about to go through a gauntlet here. They've got 3 games. Let's see here. Oops. Let's see. Let me go back here. They've got 3 games against San Diego. I wanted to get the... There we go. I was trying to get the schedule here. How hard is it to get the schedule? Okay. Second straight series loss, and they go in, they face the Padres, they face the A's, they go to the West Coast, they go to Sacramento. That should be a very, very interesting game. 10 o'clock game on Friday night, which is going to be tough. They face the Mariners on a road trip, and then they face the Mets. So facing, off and on again in terms of good teams, but these next 3 games, if they can scrape by with a series win here, that will be considered a success because the Padres are a good team, right? You got Michael King coming back. You have Dylan Cease. Some really, really good pitchers facing the Yankees this series. So to drop 2 against an under 500 Tampa Bay Rays team does not leave a very good taste in the mouth. So with that, let's take another quick break and we'll talk about the new show on Netflix that I couldn't recommend more, The Four Seasons, coming up next here on the Powell Not Found podcast. Let's take a quick break. Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Again, this is Mark Powell with the Powell Not Found podcast. You can find us at youtube.com/PowellNotFound. This week, I was struggling to find something to watch outside of Andor. Obviously, Thunderbolts is in theaters. That got kind of interesting reviews and back and forth. Also, I feel like I'm just not caught up yet on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've still got, I think, last I counted 4,000 movies to get through. So I wasn't feeling confident going through and watching another Marvel's movie. But so I surfed Netflix, did not know this was coming, but apparently there had been a series adaptation of the 1981 or 82 film, Alan Alda film and Carrell Burnett film, The Four Seasons, that was going to be starring Tina Fey, Will Forte, and my favorite, Second City alum, The Office alum, Steve Carrell. And whenever you mention Steve Carrell, I mean, I'm in. Whether it's the kind of sad news and horrible show part that he played in that show for Apple Plus, or whether it's the lovable Michael Scott from The Office, either or, the characters that that Steve Carell chooses to play always seem to have a very interesting character arc. Whether it's John DuPont in that wrestling movie that depicted the real life John DuPont, he picks very, very interesting shows. And on top of that, this is kind of a reuniting Tina Fey and Steve Carell from their movie that may not have been as successful as they wanted it to be, Date Night, but I thought it was really, really funny. This show, I've watched 3 episodes so far. Couldn't recommend it enough. It's 3 couples. They go on vacations with each other. They plan out vacations, and they kind of track their lives. It appears to be over different seasons: spring, summer, fall, and I'm assuming winter. And they are kind of all going through some sort of existential crisis. And it's such a welcome change from what I just watched in The White Lotus, which is The White Lotus is also people going on vacation having existential crisis, but it's so much more intense. There's a murder going on. There is a lot to take in when it comes to The White Lotus, and there's a lot of baggage, and there's a lot of like very, very serious stuff going on in that show. This show is much, much lighter fare. It's like watching White Lotus, but kind of on easy mode a bit. The comedy is smart. It's sharp. It's very lighthearted, even though serious things are happening, and they give it that kind of gravitas. I did not expect this to be the case, but when it also says in the credits it's written by Tina Fey, it kind of reminds me of the show Good News, which was very, very short, also prematurely ended, I feel like, by Netflix itself, that Tina Fey also wrote, which was joke on top of joke on top of joke on top of joke. There wasn't any room for long extended periods of trying to develop these things in a slow plotting way. It's like even when it gets to that part in this show, they tend to accent it with another humorous thing that's kind of going on. So they don't let you get relaxed, and they keep hitting you with joke after joke after joke. It has been a refreshing watch for me, and supremely acted also by everybody there. Will Forte plays this a kind of nervous-esque husband as they figure out like what, you know, as slowly they all figure out that their lives are falling apart. So as dire as that sounds, they do it with such funny kind of discovery moments that it's more humorous than it is sad, even though the content on its face and on paper might seem like, oh, this is really going to be sad, and it may not be something that I want to watch at night. This is really a funny comedy. In Steve Carrell also does a fantastic job. Also looks incredible in this thing. You don't often say it, but I think you're so used to seeing Steve Carrell in a certain way, but he's lost weight physically in this part that he plays. He looks great, and I think it's just because you're so used to seeing him in The Office because of it in syndication that like you're not putting the two and two together. But he looks just more svelte in this role, which is something that I kind of noticed right off the bat. It is very funny. I highly recommend you go watch the show. I kind of can't wait to finish the podcast and go watch the rest of this. So with that, I couldn't highly recommend it enough. Go watch the 4 seasons, written by Tina Fey, or at least adapted by Tina Fey. I haven't seen the original movie with Carol Burnett and Alan Alda, but they also do have some fan service very, very early in this show that kind of alludes to that you'll see pretty obviously in the beginning of this series. So go check it out. It's doesn't seem, but you know, if you're worried about it being crude or anything, it's nothing like that. It's very, very well written. It's something that you would expect after the success of 30 Rock and the success of Tina Fey just in general. So go check it out. The 4 seasons on Netflix. I think it premiered this weekend. So very, very impressed so far. So with that, we'll go ahead and end the show. We'll go ahead and export it out, and we'll be on our merry way. Again, like I said, all show, you can find us on YouTube at Powell Not Found, and go rate and review us on all the podcast channels. And with that, may the 4th be with you, and go watch the Star Wars this week. Go celebrate. Even if you don't like Star Wars, go celebrate. It's fun. It's fun to do. All right. See you later, guys. Bye.
We try